The Browns just wrapped up their first mandatory minicamp under Todd Monken. That includes OTAs, the mandatory minicamp sessions. Those are now done. The next time we'll see the Browns on the field is for actual training camp at the end of July, right? End of July,
6 full weeks away. We don't have the exact details on that, but very end of July.
Zach is someone who was at all of the open anything that could have been seen by the media, you were there and witnessed.
That's right.
Before we dive into specifics, what was your biggest takeaway of how Todd Monken handled this version of minicamp as opposed to the previous 24 you've seen from all the other coaches the Browns have had here?
Yeah, he was not getting shorted on 1 minute, and I think that's important, and I think he felt that was important. I think mostly a new coach comes in, and you don't want to do things just to do it. You want to instill, stress what you need to stress. And like with one exception, they could go 2 hours. They were out there 2 hours and 1 minute every day. Right, and so we figure that's going to carry over. One of the answers he gave yesterday at the end of minicamp, there will be no vet days off. Mm-hmm. There will be guys that get reps off. There will be smart division, but there will not be guys standing out there in shorts and sweatpants.
You're going to get dressed.
Right? You're going to be out there. So, look, Todd Monken is bringing the volume. He's bringing the energy. As he gets in the kitchen, does he have the right ingredients? Does he have to be a miracle worker? We'll see. But I think it was just very different because we had the same coach for 6 years, right? And then last year was totally different because they scrapped everything they did before and they ran a 4-man quarterback competition. So the order of everything. So just the way they went about the installations and the jog-throughs. These practices were long, but on many days, like they were well into the second hour before there were competitive reps. So guys got their work in. I think they want to throw the ball down the field. I think they want to be, obviously, a dynamic offense. I didn't see great early returns on that, but they are early returns.
Yeah.
So you got installation. I really thought, like, from mid-May to yesterday, you were cut down on the delay games and the bad snaps and the guys jumping off sides. So that's what's progress. They get back, kick the rust off, and I'm really looking forward to after the first 5 or so days of camp because I think when the full pads come on, at least for a day or two at a time, at least for a period or two at a time, it's going to be full-on football.
Probably a really hard thing to anoint without pads, but if there was one player you had to say was the MVP or the most impressive player of the parts that we've seen up to this point, who would it be?
It's a great question because it's an easy answer. Rookie wide receiver Denzel Boston.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. He's got to add strength. He's got to add polish. But this guy ran routes with authority. He went with his hands and got the ball in traffic, out of traffic.
Highlight catches.
Never saw him get screamed at for being out of place, which is huge for a rookie. And I'll tell you what, 2 of the last 3 days, I saw them start different periods, start different segments. And the first thing Shedeur did was throw to Denzel Boston on first down. And that, to me, is a sign of trust that he's earned it. He knew that guy was going to be there when he's in a competition and looking to start the series with a completion.
Man.
I'm hyped for Boston.
Man, and you should be. Hey, look, man, it ain't no problem. It is not a bad thing to be excited about young players because guess what? This was the area we have complained about forever. Mm-hmm. And not only did the Cleveland Browns not go get you one, they got you 2 new receivers, right? And
really 3 because Bond has taken a big step forward too, according to everyone who's been out there.
You just stole my joint.
Oh,
you just stole it.
Sorry, my bad.
Lead host McNuggets is different. He got all the joints ready to go. Hey, Isaiah Bond is, to me, I never thought I would say it because I think Denzel Boston and being a rookie and going to high point to football is excellent. But when you hear Todd Monken say he has the ability to get deep, he has body control, he has that gear that we can see that he's walking and running away from people, and I just really think that Isaiah Bond came into this camp, and I said there's always 1 or 2 people, Zach, that when the new coach comes along, there's a couple of people that fall back that you thought could probably be good, and there's a couple of people that come out of nowhere. Always. Isaiah Bond is one of those dudes where it's like, I got a new number change, I got a new opportunity, and he seems like a guy that is smelling like the blood in the water to say, hey, listen, if somebody pull a hamstring in this type of camp, I'm going to tell you, Zach, when he said there's no veteran days off, you pull a hamstring, you twist an ankle, somebody else is going to be in there. And I'm telling you, he will play whoever who put that on tape, he's going to play that guy. So Isaiah Bond has an opportunity to have an extended role in this offense.
No doubt. No doubt. The thing I feel most confident about and Browns fans can be most excited about, this receiving core is going to be improved. in some ways it's like nowhere to go but up, and no duh, they invested this, right? But like Jerry Jeudy, not as your one, can still play. Denzel Boston comes in immediately. Casey Concepcion, he can really run. The thing with Isaiah Bond, it's just natural. It was going to be hard last year. Gee, we sat here and we talked about it, and you said after he'd been there 2 weeks, is he going to play? And I said, well, on a real team, they would redshirt him for 6 weeks. It put him out there before he was ready. So we haven't seen it fully ready. But you saw a guy that definitely dedicated himself in the offseason to getting better. So he's got to get out there in training camp and do it. And as we see, like he and Concepcion are going to play the same position, I think, in a lot of personnel groups. And so Isaiah Bond's going to have to be really, really good to take those away from the first rounder. But if you want to judge on what we saw the last 3 weeks of the offseason, you would say Isaiah Bond definitely looks like an NFL receiver and a guy fast enough, exciting enough that you want to see more of him as this offense grows.
The reason I'm so excited for Denzel Boston is, A, he has the size that the Browns have just desperately lacked any production from in that room. Cedric Tillman, they tried to get him as that big X-receiving threat, hasn't panned out. All the other guys that they've kind of brought in were either slot size, not necessarily played the slot, but that's smaller guys, the David Bell types who were, route tacticians but weren't necessarily 6'3", 6'4". And Boston is a gigantic human being. Like, the thing with Denzel as a draft prospect was great size, good hands, athletic. We'll see about the shiftiness. Can he create separation to get open? But in the jump ball situations, like, that's where he excels. And we've already seen it in a limited sample size, and I understand the pads aren't on. I understand this is training camp. I understand it's a lot of 7-on-7s and you're not liable to get hit and taken out of the air. All of that I understand. But he's going up and making plays. And how many times, G, over the last 4 seasons have we sat in these exact same chairs, me more often in Anthony's chair, but you get what I'm saying, and said, the Browns don't have anyone to throw the ball up to who we feel confident is going to make a play and come down with it. And how many times throughout the course of an NFL game, throughout the course of a season, are you in a situation where you have to throw up a 50-50 ball and say, I got to trust my guy is going to come down with it because there's not a better option. It's third and whatever, and we need to keep the chains moving. Denzel Boston, to me, screams, even if he's never an elite top 10 guy, with those physical traits, with the hands, what we've seen thus far, there's no way he's not going to be at least a productive receiver for a long, long time. And that's something, just productive, the Browns haven't been able to say about any of the receivers they've kind of brought in over the last couple of seasons.
I'm kind of pivoting and ask Zach this, but maybe it's just the highlights that I'm seeing. It just seems like there's more opportunities for 50-50 balls. It seems like the quarterbacks, some of the best throws we've seen from Deshaun and Shedeur have been throws that are deep downfield with guys going up to get the ball. You see Casey Concepcion coming down with one. I think Mary Kay said it was offensive pass interference on that one. And I said, you know what? Hey, at least it's practice. Just go get it. Yeah. We'll take our chances with it. Then Denzel Boston is catching everything in his radius. Like
Tylan Wallace had a couple of deep.
Whoever. I'm like, yo, who's this guy? But I love the fact that they are going to high point the football. And those type throws make a quarterback's game look better than what it would look like if he didn't catch the ball. We see a lot of quarterbacks that are 16 to 24 and they have 140 some odd yards, right? It looks pedestrian. But if they would have caught one of the 50-50 balls and you got a 40 or 50-yard play where a guy goes up and makes a play, all of a sudden you're flirting with 200 yards and you get points on the board. So for me, I like the fact that it just seems like there's more of an effort or a conscious effort to get the ball downfield more.
If I can think of 10 throws from minicamp that kind of made the Twitter rounds, right, with the highlights got out there, 7 of them were grossly underthrown. Bad quarterback. Guess what Denzel Boston did? Went back and got it. Good receiver.
Now it looked good. Now everybody, that was a dime. That was a dime.
You're looking for the results. So practice is about getting guys in the right place and getting guys on the right page and making the right reads. But in the games, what's it about? Get the ball to the right place and you either make the play or you didn't.
And that's the biggest thing that the Browns haven't had the last couple of years. Guys who can simply make that play. Speaking of the quarterbacks, though, because we have seen a bunch of throws, whether it's the deep ball, the underneath, some that have hit defenders' arms who are just simply standing here like this, which we'll kind of talk about later. Right. There was a point earlier in this offseason where Todd Monken said, in a perfect world, we'd like to have our quarterback established by this point.
Yeah.
Yesterday he was asked about the timeline. He gave the answer that we've kind of expected him to give, but we have the quote from Todd Monken on where he sees these two quarterbacks at this point and heading into training camp. Todd Monken said, quote, I don't see it that way. It would be if I didn't think either one of them were capable of starting. It would feel different if I didn't feel like their progression hadn't gotten to the point where I think they can both start and play winning football. I'm convinced of it, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. I can't decide now because I think both have earned the opportunity to continue to compete once we put the pads on. So he's going to still continue to evaluate both Shedeur and Deshaun as the next step of this offseason program commences. Zach, when you hear what Todd Monken says, are you surprised that he hasn't been able to maybe distinguish one of these two quarterbacks from the other through the point of the offseason we're at?
No, I think that certainly was the goal. It's certainly an understandable goal. I don't think it ever was necessary. And when I was out there every day, I looked and I don't think anybody won it. Mm-hmm. I think they had in their mind that Deshaun Watson was going to win it. Whether they wanted that or not, I don't know, but he certainly didn't. So we're talking about 15-ish practices. We're talking about 10 weeks of install, of conditioning, of taking it to the field, and then ultimately finishing with 9 OTAs and 3 minicamps. I feel pretty confident telling you that Deshaun Watson's the same player he's been since 2022, and we know that answer is not good enough. This team is going for the future. So Shedeur, to me, looked more confident over the last couple weeks, looked more comfortable, as everyone should. Was every throw great? No. Was every rep great? Watson, Shedeur, Gabriel, anyone else? No. But this team has a lot of work to do. This team's playing for the future. This team has no gain from putting Deshaun Watson back on the field, and I think Todd Monken knows that.
Listen, I look at the situation with Shedeur Sanders. We always tell people, if it's close, you're losing.
Yeah.
If it's close, you go with the young guy. We see what Deshaun Watson was and what he wasn't. You see what Shedeur Sanders is able to do. And the thing that I continuously look at is the progress. And when you're talking about young players, the best progress that you're going to have is from the start of camp as you progress through camp. And what you start to see is those reps start to stack up for you a little bit. You start to get a little more comfortable. You start to understand where the reads, and they continue to say things are getting faster, things are getting better. And the thing I will say about Shedeur Sanders, for me, is Shedeur Sanders has never been a guy who, when you watch him just throwing the ball at practice, it's going to look like the prettiest thing in the world. Where I believe Shedeur has the ability is, he showed that he has the ability in game to do some things that could be special, some throws under pressure, some things when everything gets chaotic a little bit. Even his scrambling ability is better than what it looks like in game situations. So for me, I've always thought that they were going to take a chance and opportunity to look at both of those guys when the pads get on, because for me, that is when I get a chance to see what you do under pressure, what you do when you need to get to your drops, what you need to do when you're going against other teams and dominant pass rushers. I want to see you do it against Jared Verse and Denzel Ward. I want to see what Grant Delpit look like. I want to see when Carson Swetzer is out there and you got to get rid of the football. And most importantly, I want to see both of these guys. Who they playing this year for the scrimmages?
Buffalo.
Practice with Buffalo.
Practice with Buffalo?
Yeah.
I need to see it.
Yeah.
If Josh, I need to see it, because now I can gauge and talk about, is the timing and the speed, and is that too much for these guys? You'll learn a lot about them in those type of environments.
Based on all the information we had gotten heading into the OTAs and the minicamp, the Browns were pushing the fact that Deshaun Watson had a legitimate chance to steal the starting quarterback job and be their starter in 2026. And I think in a perfect world, from the Browns brass mindset, if Deshaun had played well enough and they felt comfortable enough that there was a gap between Deshaun and Shedeur, then we'd probably be entering this stage of the offseason with Deshaun as the Browns quarterback one. The fact that Todd Monken says he doesn't feel comfortable naming one yet tells me that Shedeur is closing the gap and Deshaun hasn't taken that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah.
Which means we're going to continue these conversations throughout the next month into training camp when pads come on. So then we'll finally get a real evaluation on the quarterback position from the head coach when he can see all the different variables flying in real time.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Shedeur totally outplayed Deshaun Watson, and I don't think Monken thinks that. But I definitely saw progress, saw incremental progress. And I think this is not 100% one way or the other, but I think a fair way to say it is minicamp is passing camp, right, Garrett? No pads.
Yep.
It's very, very basic installation stuff, running the same concepts over and over again. Training camp is training camp. It doesn't mean the quarterbacks are going to get hit, but the tempo is going to pick up. The comfort level has to be better. and there's going to be more in the quarterback's way of better competition, faster guys playing harder. So I think I don't think there's anything wrong with needing more time.
No.
I think that starts to hint towards what it is maybe there's not a clear answer. But, this is an open book, and this is a long journey they're starting. And the only reason that you would start Deshaun Watson if he's clearly better and clearly gives you a chance to win right now. And that is a comical concept to me.